The orange and white game is going to be at Neyland Stadium, but only 10,000 are going to be allowed to get in. Seems like a bit of a mess. That and more here on a Thursday, Locked On Vols.
You are Locked On Vols, your daily podcast on the Tennessee Volunteers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, good Thursday morning, everybody. Welcome to Locked On Vols. I'm Eric Kane. Happy to have you along for the ride here for today's program. We're going to talk orange and white game updates, Brian Jean-Marie updates. Texas Athletic Director predicts the future of the SEC schedule and the starting rotation for the Tennessee baseball team. Some news out of that on a Wednesday. All that and more coming up here on today's show. Thanks so much for listening and following along with the podcast for free, downloading it for free, and watching us on YouTube by subscribing to the channel for free as well. I do want to take a moment here before we begin. First, I do want to give some shouts over to FanDuel, where you can make every moment more being a part of the program at FanDuel.com. I just want to take a second here, man. Thoughts and prayers. I don't really know what to say about the end of the Kansas City Chiefs Super Bowl celebration parade and the incident that happened. It's tragic, man. I mean, we talk sports, we talk Tennessee football every single day here. But there are things that are just bigger than sports and bigger than what we have on the agenda today. And we're going to get to this stuff, but I just want to take literally a moment here. I'm sure that you guys are feeling the same way I do. I can't fathom why that would happen. It's just sad. You continue to pray for those affected, to pray for the families affected, and for the entire city of Kansas City, man. It's brutal. It is absolutely brutal. And so when I'm recording this in real time, some of the details are just now coming in, but I just wanted to send my thoughts and my prayers for that whole situation because it's tragic and there's no excuse for it. Orange and white game. There have been rumors that there might not be an orange and white game this year. I mean, how many years are we going to kind of talk about this because of the ongoing renovations at Neyland Stadium and everything? So, I mean, that's, you do the work in the offseason. So it is going to be difficult to try to get 60 or 70,000 in for a spring game or whatever it is. That's probably a little bit ambitious. But, I mean, we've done the song and dance before, but there are still ongoing renovations at Neyland Stadium. And it was announced on Wednesday that there will be a game at Neyland Stadium this year for the orange and white game. They had explored, having this game maybe in Chattanooga or maybe at another venue around the state, but ultimately decided to do it at Neyland Stadium. It's going to be on April the 13th, but the caveat here is limited capacity. Because of the ongoing construction, it is what it is. You can't really fault limited capacity for the orange and white game, but they're only going to allow 10,000 fans in. And I know I said 60 or 70 earlier. That was a bit ambitious. Typically, you get around 40,000 for a strong, 40, 50,000 for a strong orange and white game. Yeah, Tennessee may say about 66 or 67,000. It's really not that much. But, for a strong showing, typically in years past, it's been, 50,000 or so. Usually it's free. And free of charge, that went away a couple years ago since Danny White's been here as the athletic director. Danny White's a good athletic director. He is. Anyone that says he's not a good athletics director lives under a rock. But Danny White is all about making money. And sometimes it can kind of get in the way of the important things, in my opinion. I mean, I'm not crushing the guy. I think he does a great job. Charging admission for the orange and white game, I think, is silly. Point blank, I think it's silly. But that's another conversation in itself. But man, he fundraises and he develops plans, and he's I mean, there's a reason where he got to where he is today. And he comes from a long line of, athletic administrators, and his father was a longtime athletic director at Duke, and of course we know his brother's in collegiate athletics, his sister is as well, and he does a great job. I think charging admission for an orange and white spring scrimmage is a little silly in my opinion, but 10,000 fans are going to be allowed in. The charge is going to be, what is it, $10 for normal seats, up to $15 for premium seats. I have this here somewhere. But they're going to stagger them as well. They're going to be sold in donor rank order, beginning with season ticket holders. season ticket holders will receive more information on how to purchase tickets, as well as parking availability from the Tennessee Fund and UT Athletic Ticket Office the week of February the 19th. Now, all proceeds for these tickets, $10 for non-premium seats, $15 for Lower West Club tickets. All proceeds will count as a contribution to the My All campaign as well, which, season ticket holders need to do that as well, so to be a season ticket holder. But anyway, in my opinion, something is better than nothing. I get it. I wouldn't do an orange and white game if you have to reduce capacity down to 10,000 in a stadium that seats now officially like 101 or whatever. I mean, whatever the official count is now because of the renovations. If you have to reduce it all the way down to 10,000, it seems a little silly to me. I wouldn't do one. I wouldn't charge people admission, and I wouldn't stagger them on donor rank either. That's all just my opinion. Nobody's asked my opinion, but I'm going to tell you my opinion because this is my podcast. But it just kind of is what it is. I mean, it's going to be on the SEC network, which is great. You can sit back at home and watch this. The Vol Radio Network is going to have it over its airwaves, so there's going to be a radio broadcast of it as well. People like me are going to be, hopefully, if they don't, if they don't retract my credentials for saying it's a little silly. People like me are going to be in this press box. We're going to, write about it and talk about it and everything. So it's going to get covered. I mean, you're gonna know what's going on in the orange and white game, but I just think if you're gonna have to minimize attendance to only 10,000 people, why do it at all? That's just my opinion. But nonetheless, I mean, the orange and white game, growing up, it used to be a big deal. Of course, I mentioned it drew big crowds. It used to be fan day where you line up and take pictures and sign autographs and everything. And I know that's not really been the case for quite some time, but truly this game used to be kind of a big deal. And, a lot of people that can't afford tickets during the season would go to the orange and white game because of the free of charge and stand in line and get autographs and pictures taken and all that. Just none of that is what it is anymore. And it's kind of saddened a little bit, but it's, the price of progress, I guess. So it's going to be April the 13th. It's going to be at Neyland Stadium. Game's going to be at 1 o'clock. Only 10,000 fans are allowed in due to the ongoing construction, which again, construction, you can't help that. I totally understand that. But the 10,000 are going to be paying for their tickets, $10 or $15. All the contributions will go to the My All campaign, and the season ticket holders will get first dibs. Also, there will be, the Vol Village will be open at 11 o'clock. Food trucks will be there available. Tennessee cheerleaders. Sterl the Pearl, I'm sure, is going to be there. Actually, he is going to be there. I'm looking at the release right now. So there's going to be a music festival, live bands. All that's going to be out there outside of Neyland Stadium in Lot 9 prior to kickoff. And so that'll be fun. I mean, that's cool. You can still go to campus, still get the environment, still get to do all that type of stuff. Plus, there's going to be big screens out there so people can stay and watch. If you weren't one of the lucky 10,000 to get in. Plus, baseball is at home that weekend. It's going to be a huge series against LSU, the defending national champions. First pitch for that game is at 5:30. So you'll have the orange and white game starting at 1, and then first pitch for the baseball game against LSU is going to be at 5:30. So it's going to be a big weekend. And if you want to go to the Vol Village and see everything that's going on there, no ticket is going to be required for that. So. Again, it'll be on the SEC Network Plus. You can stream it. Vol Radio Network's and have coverage of that. For me, I've said this a couple of times, and we'll move on. But if you can only allow 10,000 people in, why do it at all? Just my opinion. But nonetheless, 10,000 lucky individuals get to go in and watch, and the rest of you people can hear about it all right here on Locked On Vols. But I want to talk about that because that's big news. I mean, it affects us. It affects the fans. It affects you if you're planning to go, and I wanted to kind of get that out there and give you some information if you hadn't heard already. But there were some rumors that there wasn't going to be a spring game or that it was going to be taking place somewhere else. I heard Chattanooga a lot in the last couple of weeks. But nonetheless, it's going to be at home, April 13th, Neyland Stadium. And, we'll just kind of go from there. What's your input on that? I'd love to know what you think about the orange and white spring game and how they're going to do it this year. Any update on Brian John Marie? Plus, what did a Texas athletic director say about the future scheduling of the Southeastern Conference? That and a whole lot more as we continue on with this edition of Locked On Vols. Stay tuned. I want to tell you about our friends over at FanDuel Sportsbook. Right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. Get buckets with your first bet over at FanDuel Sportsbook. It's America's #1 sportsbook. Again, that's $150 if your bet wins. You can do all types of stuff over at FanDuel Sportsbook. Quick bets, live, same-game parlays, exclusive props, a whole lot more. We love the totals. We love the overs here on Locked On Vols, plus individual prop bets and more. Easy-to-use, friendly, fun app over at FanDuel Sportsbook. Plus $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That is at FanDuel.com/LockedOn. FanDuel.com/LockedOn, where you can shoot your shot the rest of the college basketball season. FanDuel, it is it's an official sportsbook partner of the NBA. More to come here on Locked On Vols. All right, so wanted to give an update on Brian Jean-Marie. And again, by the time you listen to this, maybe things can change. Things are developing, right? But we entered the offseason where you thought that, news kind of came on. If you're a member of VolQuest.com, you've known that Willie Martinez is going to be back on this coaching staff for a while now. But you kind of thought that, this coaching staff was going to stay intact. MTSU made a run at Tim Banks. You thought maybe he would move on and become a head coach, decided to stay here at Tennessee. Okay. Here recently, Rodney Gardner was being vetted heavily by Auburn. He decides to stay here at Tennessee. Then this week, or really it was over the weekend when news kind of broke, you got Jerry Mack, running backs coach. He is going to the NFL, going to the Jacksonville Jaguars, okay? And then here lately, at the beginning of the week and towards the middle of the week, it started to pick up steam a little bit that Michigan is making a hard run at linebackers coach Brian Jean-Marie. So why all the movement here of late? Well, it's because you have the late carousel churning of the coaching carousel, right? Nick Saban retires. All right. Kellen DeBoer leaves Washington to go to take Alabama. You've got Jim Harbaugh going back to the NFL. UCLA's Chip Kelly doesn't want to be a head coach anymore. He's going to Ohio State to be the offensive coordinator. Washington, the Arizona coach went to Washington. So every domino kind of falls and it affects another program. And you're seeing how these programs are getting replacements as head coach, but these head coaches are now filling out their staffs, getting their offensive and defensive coordinators, and together they're building out the entire coaching staff. And that's why you're seeing some of these dominoes even hit, Tennessee as of mid-February when you thought everything was kind of said and done. I mean, we're a little under a month away from spring practice beginning. And right now, we don't know who Tennessee's running backs coach is going to be. At the time of this recording, it's very up in the air if Brian Jean-Marie is going to be Tennessee linebackers coach next year. I say all this up in the air. I mean, it's Valentine's Day, guys. I'm recording this and going to spend time with the wife because I won't have a wife if I don't. Things can change at 6, 7, 8 o'clock tonight. I mean, it just is what it is, and we'll talk about it on Locked On Vols. But at the time of this recording, it's very much a possibility that Brian Jean-Marie might not be at Tennessee. And if he is not at Tennessee next year, what a loss this would be, in my opinion. I've talked about willing recruiters on this show the last couple of times. We've had this conversation, talked about it with Jerry Mack, how I don't think enough members of the staff are willing recruiters. Jerry Mack was one of them. The other one, the top two that come to mind, Brian Jean-Marie. Brian Jean-Marie has done a heck of a job recruiting here at Tennessee since he's been here. He has been the most, not just recruiting, where he got Aaron Carter and Edwin Spillman and Keenan Peely to come via the transfer portal. And not only did he develop Aaron Beasley into one of the better linebackers at points in times in the Southeastern Conference and work with a true sophomore Elijah Herring last year to go on and lead Tennessee in tackles and done a lot of good at the linebacker position. I think he has been the most underrated member of Josh Heupel's coaching staff over the past 3 years. Let's go back to 2021. Okay, you had Jeremy Banks, a converted running back. Okay, and we know he dealt with off-the-field issues. You had, I did a radio hit on Wednesday afternoon. I forgot his name there too. This is embarrassing, but it'll come to me in a moment. And all you guys are shouting to the speakers, knowing the name, but that's what happens when you're in my industry. You forget names time to time. The linebacker from Texas, they came here and spent a couple years here, and then he left and went to Colorado, or he left and went to Oklahoma State, then to Colorado. I don't know. He had like 4 or 5 different stops. I don't know where he's playing now. But he came in, and he was kind of a head case, right? And I can see his face. This bugs the crap out of me. He was kind of a head case, and he was injured a little bit, and he was in that lineup, but he was hurt for the majority of the 2021 season. And you had all these players. You had your 4 starting linebackers from the 2020 season that did not return in 2021. So Brian Jean-Marie was dealt with no cards at his disposal to begin his coaching career, yet in patchwork with Jeremy Banks, a converted linebacker, Aaron Beasley, a converted safety and running back, who was also not with the team that spring due to off-the-field issues, and then Solon Page, who's a great teammate, really added a lot to that group and everything, but, probably got way more snaps than anybody anticipated him getting in 2021. You made it work. Was it perfect? Heck no. But you made it work. And then in 2022, you got a little bit better, and you had 3 starting linebackers with your Aaron Beasley was kind of that third one there, but Jeremy Banks was a really, really good player. And, you had the guy's name that I'm forgetting right now still, that it is not coming to my name right now. I'm going to look it up at the break. But you also had Elijah Herring that kind of stepped up and was able to go in there and get you some run. And it got better in 2022. And then in 2023, you had depth, but one key injury kind of, changed all your plans. Keenan Peely, he brought in for the transfer portal, work alongside Aaron Beasley. He played one game and then he was gone the rest of the season due to injury. So you had to force in Elijah Herring. You had to force feed Jeremiah T-Lander and Arian Carter before their injuries. Caleb Perry, man, his plan to play young players, I wish other coaches on this staff would take advantage, would follow his lead. Baptism by fire. He's just done a great job doing more with less compared to anybody else on staff over the last 3 years. So I'm a big fan of Brian Jean-Marie, and I hope he remains at Tennessee. But insiders from the On3 affiliate of Michigan who cover Michigan, the 247 site that covers Michigan, as of even as Tuesday night and on into Wednesday, saying that the new head coach of Michigan is going to make an offer that he can't refuse. Or make an offer. Tennessee was going to make a counter, and then being prepared for that counter, Michigan was going to come back with a counter to that counter. So it sounds like they want Brian Jean-Marie in Ann Arbor, and he spent time there before. He knows the landscape. He's a good linebackers coach. He knows the program. The deal would make sense if he were to leave. So we'll see exactly what happens if he is to leave Tennessee. Again, as of the time of this recording, no news has happened just yet, but sooner rather than later. Like, this is going to wrap up on Wednesday evening or Thursday morning, in my opinion, whether he stays or whether he goes. And so if he goes, man, Tennessee's looking for 2 assistant coaches. Not the end of the world, but in my opinion, losing one of the best coaches Josh Heupel's had on staff here since his time on Rocky Top. And we'll see what happens. Also, real quick, before we get into a little baseball talk in segment number 3, you had Texas Athletics Director Chris Del Conte, I believe is his name. He does an annual town hall meeting, and the On3 affiliates inside Texas kind of refers to it as a State of the Union. And this happened earlier this week. And during his sit-down talk with some media, and he was talked about his eagerness and his pumped, his nature of being excited about coming to the SEC. This being Texas, saying that Texas was a part of the predecessor of the SEC, being a part of the Southern Conference way back when, the Southern Intercollegiate Athletic Association, which was before the SEC. So it was almost kind of like a member institution, but not quite, and a founding member, if you will. And essentially saying, hey, we're going home. We're going to the SEC. We're going home. He's talking about how we're not going to be going up and down the country, not going to be flying coast to coast. We're going to be playing in our region in the Southeast and doing it. I'm like, okay, well, Texas is in the South. I wouldn't characterize Texas as the Southeast, but I guess I kind of get what he's saying. But he's pumped. He was talking about how he's excited to be in the Southeastern Conference, and he should be. He talked about wanting to play Texas A&M, wanting to move that game back to Thanksgiving Day, or the Friday of Thanksgiving. Or actually, I guess it would be Thanksgiving night. Yeah, playing on Thanksgiving night. Talking about how they want to do that and everything. But in his talk, he also hinted at the future of the Southeastern Conference schedule. Quote, "We have 8 games scheduled now. We're working on going towards a 9-game schedule, but we have a ways to go in that. I would say this year we have an 8-game schedule. The following year we have an 8-game schedule. Then we'll look at going into a 9-game conference schedule after that. So that would be the year of 2026. I mean, good. Better late than never, right? But there's no excuse. It just means more, right? You want to pump your chest and say you're the best of the best. You want to pump your chest and say that we're the cream of the crop in college football. We are the Southeastern Conference. Then why is the Big Ten playing 9 conference games, and why are you only playing 8? I mean, better late than never, sure. But it needs to happen right now. There's no excuse for teams across the Southeastern Conference to only play 8 conference games. It's inexcusable. I understand Florida plays Florida State. I understand South Carolina plays Clemson. I understand Georgia plays Georgia Tech. I understand Kentucky plays Louisville. I get all that. I get it. And that's still a lingering question on when you go to 9 conference games. Are you going to still have that rule in there that mandates you play one non-conference Power 5 opponent? I'm intrigued to see that because, other teams have more to lose with that because I feel like you're not going to give up your annual rivalry. Whereas if they do update that rule, then they can keep that annual rivalry with their in-state foe, but it's not a part of the conference or whatever the case may be. So I'm intrigued to see what happens. 8-game conference schedule this year. We know that. Rumors, and Nick Saban even alluded to it on the Pat McAfee show months ago, that the SEC was likely going to only be 8 games still in 2025. Okay. Or 2025. Whatever. Okay. But if we can finally flip the page, start anew in 2026, 9-game conference schedule, we can finally get into who exactly are those permanent opponents going to be. For Tennessee, is it going to be Vanderbilt, Alabama, and South Carolina? And Kentucky, I hope Kentucky, or Florida, I don't know. We can get into those conversations again. We had all the models, we had all the reports about who's going to be with who and all that type of stuff. But, when the Southeastern Conference said that there were going to be 8 games in 2024, and really rumors started swirling that there are going to be 8 games in 2025, we haven't really talked much about that. We got them in baseball. We got them in basketball. We've heard all that type of noise in terms of conference expansion. I'm excited to get back into this conversation. Tennessee, Vanderbilt, Tennessee, Alabama, and who else? Better late than never, but the 9-game conference slate should already be here. Tell me if you disagree. I'd love to hear it at _Caner and at Locked On Vols. Tennessee baseball starts its season Friday night. I'm going to be down there in Arlington at Globe Life Field. Coverage over at volquest.com. I'll tell you about the starting rotation. We got a little bit of light shed on who's going to be in that starting rotation in the terms of order. That was when Tony Vitello spoke to the media on Wednesday. I'll tell you what he said coming up next right here on Locked On Vols. Game Time is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all your sports, all your music, all your comedy and theater events in your area. And right now, new users can get $20 off by using that promo code Locked On. Killer last minute deals, all in prices, views from your seat, the best price guarantee. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. Last minute tickets, flash deals, zone deals as well. Easy to find to buy your tickets for any area or event in your region. Views from your seats, so you know exactly what you're paying for. Plus, they got the lowest price guaranteed. They got event cancellation protection, even job loss protection as well. If you're a procrastinator like me oftentimes, and you wait to the last minute to buy your tickets to whatever the event you're going to, Game Time is the place to do that. Plus, they're selling tickets until an hour after the event even starts. All that and more, it's over on the Game Time app today. Terms apply. Download the Game Time app using the promo code Locked On for $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guarantee. More to come as we continue on a Thursday, Locked On Balls. All right, we got a final segment left here of this edition of Locked On Vols. Appreciate you for being here. Let's talk a little Tennessee baseball, shall we? Let's talk a little Tennessee baseball. You've got opening day. That's going to be in the Shriners Children's Collegiate Baseball Showcase. It's going to be in Arlington, Texas, Dallas area. Defending World Series champions, the Texas Rangers. And I'm excited to be down there because I get to mark off another ballpark off my list. I think my count is up to 16 active, 17 total. Me and my dad knocked out about 8 ballparks after I graduated college. That was a whole lot of fun. And then me and a couple of friends knocked out like 4 more the year after. And then, every time I go to a city now when I travel, I try to go to a ballpark. So that's a little bit of a expensive hobby that I like to do. But I'm pumped to be down there in Arlington and see the Tennessee baseball team get after it. Of course, Tennessee baseball voted second in the SEC East behind Florida. Tennessee baseball is projected to be a pretty good ball club. If you look at all the 5 national polls, all but one has Tennessee preseason ranked inside the top 10. You had Perfect Game that has Tennessee at number 11, but D1 Baseball has Tennessee at number 8, I believe, or number 9. Baseball America has Tennessee at number 8. The National Collegiate Baseball Writers Association has Tennessee as high as number 5. So it's a team that's supposed to make some noise this year. Now, you lose Maui Ahuna at shortstop. Got to find a shortstop long term. I think Christian Moore is going to start out there to begin the season. You lose Jared Dickey. You lose Chase Burns to the transfer portal. You lose Chase Dolander to the Colorado Rockies. You lose Cannon Sewell, you lose Seth Halverson, you lose Andrew Lindsey, who was drafted in the Major League Baseball draft. So you lose a lot of production from that Omaha squad from a year ago, but you do return some. You added, and of course, if you're just a casual baseball fan, have paid attention over the offseason, and you want just kind of a quick little rundown entering the season, here it is for you. I'm going to talk a little bit more tomorrow specifically about the matchups with Texas Tech on Friday, Oklahoma on Saturday, and Baylor on Sunday. You add Billy Amick, who is a really good player from Clemson. He was an All-American last year. You add Nate Snead from Wichita State that can hit triple digits in the back end of the bullpen from the right side. You had Cannon Peebles, who was a freshman All-American last year at NC State, who caught 9 games, but was the DH for like 39 of those games and did a really, really good job. You had Chris Stamos in the bullpen. You had A.J. Causey, former Friday night starter at Jacksonville State, but it's going to come out of the Tennessee bullpen. You added a lot of firepower to this team, and I'm excited to see it kind of gel all together. Now, on Wednesday, when talking with Tony Vitello in a media appearance, he said that A.J. Russell, who was a true freshman last year that only pitched 30 innings, that was an NCBWA All-American, a freshman All-American by D1 Baseball and the NCBWA. He is going to be the Friday night starter, at least to start out the weekend. And Tony Vitello said repeatedly, like, they're going to be tinkering some things. They're going to be looking at the lineup. They're going to be looking at the starting rotation, trying to get everything finalized before Southeastern Conference play starts in mid-March. And that's normal. You know, that's normal. We've been so, and if you follow Tennessee baseball the last couple of years, you know what I'm saying. But if you don't really know much about college baseball and haven't followed it for a long time, you don't typically have a Friday starter, Saturday starter, Sunday starter go the distance. In 2021, Tennessee pretty much did have that. In 2022, Tennessee pretty much did have that. In 2023, coming into the season, Tennessee was poised to do that, but they had to make a change, move Chase Burns to the bullpen. You are in very much figure-it-out mode the first month of the season, and that's what this tournament is, or this tournament style format play is to begin the season, and then all these non-conference games, which you'll be challenged at times, but for the most part, Tennessee should win the majority of these games over the next month before starting SEC play. So you're very much in figure-it-out mode. So for starting this weekend, A.J. Russell's going to get the ball, Tony Vitello says, on Friday. Drew Beam is going to get the ball coming in on Saturday. And though he wouldn't confirm, it's of my opinion and of my belief, and every conversation I've had with everybody around that program, that Xander Seacrest is going to get the ball to start things out on Sunday. Now, do I think that Xander Seacrest will be the number 3 starter all year long? I hope so. I do. I hope so. I like Xander. I love his story. He's been a great teammate. He's been great with the media. He is a guy that you root for. We'll see. We'll see how long he makes in the starting rotation. He's been a midweek ace for much of his career. There are 2 freshmen that are nipping at the heels, though. Matthew Dallas, who's also a lefty, just like Xander Seacrest. He's a pro-rated prospect. He was a draft risk coming into school. So was Derek Schaefer, who's a righty. Derek Schaefer and Matthew Dallas are going to have a big say in the starting rotation before it's all said and done, in my opinion. Now, they'll start out in the pen. And this weekend specifically, all these guys are going to be on pitch counts, right? They're going to be, they'll go 55, 60 pitches. They're not going to go much further than that. So don't expect to see Drew Beam go the distance. Don't expect A.J. Russell to go in the 7th or the 8th inning, and Xander Seacrest as well. So, you'll see a little bit of a piggyback, this weekend in terms of what these guys continue to get stretched out. But that's kind of the plan moving forward. Tony Vitello confirmed that it'll be A.J. Russell on Friday, who's got, really, really good repertoire. He looked really good last weekend in the dress rehearsal series they call the Pizza Series. Easily looked better than any Tennessee pitcher all weekend long. And I'm excited to see what he can do over the course of a full season. Drew Beam, which we know about him, QB1, Mr. Stability, and Tony Vitello mentioned that stability and why they like Drew Beam coming in on Saturday to start off this year. And then Xander Seacrest, who, sources tell me that Xander Seacrest is going to get the ball on Sunday. I'm intrigued to see what this all looks like. I think what you should expect from Tennessee baseball this year is an exciting lineup, a team that's going to hit a whole lot of home runs, team that's going to hit a whole lot, make things exciting. Pitching-wise, you got some questions to answer. And, that is normal. That is very, very normal, especially when you lose guys like Cannon Sewell, Chase Burns, Seth Halverson out of that bullpen from last year. You bring back Aaron Combs, Kirby Cannell. You bring back, a lot of these guys that have been there, done that. And you add to it, A.J. Causey is going to pitch a crap ton out of the bullpen, in my opinion. Plus, he can open games as well as Chris Thomas can open games if needed. But I'm excited to see how this team comes together, how it gels together. And, not everything's going to be answered this weekend. Just prepare yourself for that. Not everything's going to be answered this weekend. There are going to be questions leaving this weekend, just like I have questions entering the season. That's normal. But Tennessee baseball season starts Friday nights. Globe Life Field, Arlington, Texas. Your boy's going to be down there. I'm pumped about that. And all that coverage right here on Locked On Vols. We'll talk about Monday. We'll recap the weekend. But, of course, you can follow along at volquest.com as well. All right, everybody. Appreciate you for being here. Orange and White game update. Wanted to bring that to the show. Brian John Marie update. Maybe some things have changed by the time you listen to this. Texas Athletic Director predicts a 9-game conference schedule beginning in 2026. So that's intriguing from an interview he did. And starting a rotation for Tennessee baseball, we know it's going to be A.J. Russell Friday, Drew Beam Saturday, and then I'm saying it'll be Xander Seacrest on Sunday. Thank you guys so much for being here. As always, making Locked On Vols your first listen each and every day. If you haven't already, help out the show, please. Like, subscribe for free. Download these episodes wherever you listen to your podcast, and subscribe on the Locked On Vols YouTube channel as we continue to grow the show. Hey, when we come back tomorrow on Friday's show, as tip-off in Fayetteville wasn't until 9 o'clock. I was not about to record a podcast at 11:30 at night. We'll talk about Tennessee and Arkansas. We'll talk about Tennessee getting ready for a game this weekend, and we'll get you set for everything and more. Any new developments in NCAA versus the Tennessee Volunteers, that and a whole lot more is coming up on your Friday show. Appreciate you guys as always. This is Locked On Vols.